video. We leave Crescent City after having a couple days delay while we fixed our injector pump, and we continue our trip down the coast. Before we get started, I'd like to thank all of you again for your great comments and thumbs up on our last video, and for all of our new supporters, patrons, and people who support us through PayPal. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
In the last video, some of you asked if it wouldn't have been much easier if you had a wind vane or some kind of autopilot, as you saw me sitting behind the steering, kind of pretty unpleasant weather conditions. But the truth is this here, that even if you had a wind vane, it would not be a very smart let her steer by herself, due to the fact that we were only a few miles off Rogue River Reef, and also we were on a lee shore getting winds from northwest, so it was very important to sit behind the steering and making sure that we're not making any leeway, and also then she keeps in the right direction, because if you leave it, her go under wind vane, you probably know it, then a wind way doesn't keep you going straight, and if a wind should change direction, you might find yourself on top of a reef before you know.
Plus, Jules loves to feel the salty sea air in his face.
Yeah, it's actually it's not so bad as it looks. A lot of people ask about Dodgers,
right,
but I tell you, I don't like that idea. Sit behind a Dodger, you cannot really feel the wind, which way blows and so forth. So maybe it's old-fashioned, but I kind of enjoy it.
Kind of old-fashioned people.
But the most important part is to be safe, and I think stay behind the steering. It's very important when you're close to a danger. As you will see in this video, also I try to show that our boat really steers fine under self-trimming of the sails, and it doesn't really need any kind of help from a wind vane or an autopilot. Up to 25, gusting to 30.
Boat's nicely balanced. We just have our roller furling jib out and our double reef mainsail doing about 5.5 to 6 knots. Very, very comfortable.
As you can see, the boat sailing by itself and doesn't deviate from its course more than 1 point, which is 11.25 degrees. She keeps a straight course. If the wind should picks up a little bit, she turns more towards the wind, but as soon as the wind steadies, she goes back on her course. So she really works fine as a self-steering.
And Jules is on watch while we're rounding Cape Mendocino. It's been nice and foggy and has unbelievable currents out here.
We headed today from 25 to 30 knots of wind down to about 5 knots, and unbelievable currents and everything. And look at all this, how foggy is out. Visibility is maybe 1/8 of a mile.
Actually, it was foggy earlier,
yes.
even. Yeah.
I'm sitting here, kind of watching, listening for engine. We shut our radar off, gave a battery a little time to recuperate. Because between the computer with a chart plotter and a refrigerator, radar, AIS radio, it's using way too much power.
And no sun to charge.
And I don't feel like running generator, so we gave everything a little break, and we're sailing old-fashioned way. That is to listen for a sound and so forth, and we're ready to take action. Although we still have our VHF radio with our AIS, so any kind of major ship or big fishing boat, you will be notified. That's it for now, folks. We decided to pull into a Drake's Bay which is about 7 or 10 miles, something like that, before the entry into San Francisco Bay. It's very fine anchorage. It's right behind Point Reyes, so if it doesn't matter how bad weather it's outside on the coast, it is a very nice place to pull in. And we actually got in about 3 o'clock in the morning.
And fog and wind, as
it was
usual.
foggy like hell, and actually we were very close to hitting a fishing boat, because she was a old wooden fishing boat, didn't show very well on our radar. He had no lights out, no anchor lights,
Right.
so we were really close to it, maybe say 50 feet when we spotted, and we make a quick turn to avoid it from hitting it. We came here this morning 3 o'clock Sunday. We are at Drake's Bay, right outside of San Francisco Bay, California, and we sustained a little damage on our mainsail as we was rounding Cape Blanco, and then a little bit more in the Mendocino. It was a gale blowing with a very sharp, steep seas. There are 12 foot at 8 seconds, so what they call a square seas. So now we took our mainsail down, which we're going to repair. Here, Susan is in the process of bending on our old mainsail, which we repaired years ago and had standing by as a spare. So we're going to be using it, and when we get to San Diego, we'll take our time and fix our new sail and then exchange it again. So it's always nice to have a spare sail, because you never know what can happen. Looking in the background at the Golden Gate entry to San Francisco Bay, as we are sailing from Drake's Bay to Half Moon Bay. That's kind of semi-foggy, and you got to be really close watching on for traffic. When you're coming from the Pacific Ocean towards San Francisco, in both sides of the entry you have a very fine anchorages. One is on the north side called Drake's Bay, and one is on the south side which you call Half Moon Bay. But once you're crossing from Drake's Bay to Half Moon Bay, you have to be very careful, because you are crossing a traffic dividing zone. That's where actually San Francisco pilot meets ships to bring them inside to San Francisco Bay. And it's traffic is very heavy. There are also a lot of boats just hang around waiting for a pilot. No, she's going. Go 5 degrees to starboard.
Right in front of us.
Which way is going?
I don't know, I couldn't tell. I don't think I've ever seen so many whales in my life. I've never seen so many whales. We were looking forward to seeing whales because we'd heard that there were quite a few whales out of San Francisco, and we were at one point totally surrounded by whales. We've probably never seen that many, and yes, I was absolutely overcome with excitement. You may have to turn your volume down a little bit there. You gotta go around. Whoa! 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 Did you see that?
Yep.
Oh, wow. That was awesome. Be careful, Julius. There was something right ahead of us, so be careful. Whoa, look at that. That's awesome. Actually, at one point we actually started engine and powered so we can be heard, so we don't surprise them, because they were awfully close. And I would say we had to see at least 50 in a matter of, say, 2-3 hours. Pretty exciting. Yeah. So we're just coming up to Pillar Point, which is right there. All the domes on it. And we just have to pass by this reef here. at the end of the point. And we make the turn into Half Moon Bay. I guess we're going to spend a day or two there before we continue our journey southward amongst all the whales. At least it's not foggy. Last time we were here it was just totally foggy and we couldn't see a thing on shore, so it's a little bit nicer. Not sunny, but it's nicer.
Once you approach a Half Moon Bay, you have to give a wide berth, because actually what you have to do, you have to go around a point to make entry, and right of the point there is a lot of rocks, so it's quite a hazard to navigation. And actually also entry right before the harbor, you have two buoys with reefs on both sides of it. So you gotta be really careful how you point in. Good part about harbor is then because it's pointing actually east, southeast, you don't have to worry about any kind of bars.
That big marker is the end of the port side jetty. There's the harbor.
Once you get into a Half Moon Bay, there are inner and outer harbor. We again anchor in outer harbor because there is anchorage for free. And the inner harbor, you cannot really anchor, you have to pick up a slip in the marina. So it's pretty much up to you what you decided.
There's our boat. There's the entry into the harbor. There's Jules. Hi, Jules.
And here is the entry into the inner harbor.
Half Moon Bay, Inner Harbor. For outer harbor people. Pleasant smell of guano. Lots of it. Fisheries. Fuel dock. Lots of fishing boats.
Nice size fishing boat right here. Also Pacific buoy.
Don't run them over, Julius. Don't run them over. The guy tied his dinghy right at the end of the dock there.
In Half Moon Bay, you can pick up a diesel for a reasonable price because they cater to fishermen. And also they have a grocery store, but not right inside the town. You have to take a bus, which takes about 15-20 minutes to get you into a good sized grocery store. Half Moon Bay, because it's located in a short distance from San Francisco, gets a lot of tourists out there, so they have several nice restaurants, and it's overall a nice location. But again, not very often it's sunny, because as you know, San Francisco is also a home of lots of fog. But otherwise, harbor is very well protected, so we really enjoyed staying down there a few days before we continue down south again.
So I guess that's it for now, guys. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.
Bye-bye.
Bye.